Hello, and welcome to Wine with Weeda, the podcast that is dedicated to engaging with health professionals and caregivers in meaningful discussions. I'm your host, Rita Shamoon, or as my clients call me, Weeda. I'm a pediatric speech pathologist, and I am so excited to have you here. Each week, we deep dive into connecting you with caregivers and healthcare professionals, sharing their insights, stories, and key takeaways to help you with your child's diagnosis and your journey. Whether you are a parent, healthcare professional, a lifetime learner, or simply a wine enthusiast, you're in the right place. So let's sit back and relax and enjoy today's episode. Welcome back to Wine with Wita 2026. Sorry, guys. I'm excited to return with a story that truly embodies courage, love, and resilience. Today, I'm joined by Sabrina, the incredible mum to Lily. Sabrina is not only a devoted and loving mother, but also a passionate advocate, sharing her experiences with honesty and openness to support other families navigating similar challenges. Through her daughter Lily's journey, from diagnosis to surgeries, therapies, and treatment in Dubai, Sabrina has shown unwavering strength and hope. Her willingness to share her story has already touched so many lives, offering guidance, connection, and inspiration to parents and caregivers alike. Sabrina, we're finally here, and I'm so deeply touched that you're able to share your story, the first story for 2026 on Wine with Weeda today.
Thank you, Rita. Real pleasure to be here with you today and share my story and more about my beautiful Lily.
Oh, I want to tell the listeners about how we connected. And I think it comes back down to the power of alignment on what will be, and the gorgeous unspoken truth about connection and how when souls connect, magic can happen. So we're now in November 2025. About 5 months ago, it was winter, 5 months, June
Yeah,
or so.
yeah.
Sabrina's post about her daughter Lily just popped up on my story on Instagram. It's not like I was looking up something related to Lily's condition. It just popped up. And I was just so drawn by the raw honesty of Sabrina's story. So one click led to another click, and I was just incredibly moved by her daughter Lily's journey. And I thought, I want to interview this remarkable mother. Few messages later, little did I know that Sabrina is an Aussie. She's an Aussie initially from South Australia, and she's obviously been around all Australia. But we got talking and we connected, and she's a fan of Wine with Weeda, and I'm a fan of her journey, and it brings me such hope, and I'm so privileged to share her story because without a doubt, Sabrina, Lily's story will help another mother wearing the same difficulties as you.
Well, that's my hope. That's definitely my
Yeah.
hope.
So tell us about yourself and your beautiful family.
Sure. So, yes, I'm an Aussie, originally from Australia, but living in Dubai with my husband, Reese, who's also an Aussie, and our two daughters, Violet, who is 6 going on 16, and my daughter, Lily, who's 3, actually about to be 4. And we've been living in Dubai for over a decade. Actually, Reese is getting up to 2 decades, which is hard to believe, considering I was only meant to come for a year or two, and yet here we are with no end in sight. But we're happy to call Dubai home, even though we miss Australia and all our family and friends, obviously.
I recently came back from Dubai. Despite the heat,
Yes,
I felt
You came when it was hot.
I came when it
It,
was very hot.
it was,
I think it
yeah,
was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was already hitting 45 degrees. And I was like, this is getting too much.
yeah,
But what moved me and what gave me hope about Dubai, this place was sand. Honestly, it was
yeah,
sand.
yeah.
And look at what they created from barely nothing. And I think
Mm.
when we're here having these discussions on Wine with Weeda, we have these expectations of what a diagnosis looks like. We have these expectations of what society tells us to be or what we should be like. But if Dubai can turn a place from sand to a thriving, cultured, amazing city through the power of unity, belief, money, of course, but it comes from the ability to believe that you can and look what you can achieve. And I think this is so perfectly fitting on Wine with Weta and your story, Sabrina, that despite what people say, anything is possible if you really believe and hold on to that sparkle that anything can happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm really proud of like living in Dubai and the UAE. It's hard to describe because, some people come here and they either love it or hate it. But if you live
Yeah,
here and you've lived here for a long time, you really start to appreciate what Dubai stands for and what the UAE stands for. And we've really been blessed here. So
yeah.
only good things for me to say
Of
about
course, it's
this place for
wonderful.
sure. Yeah,
So Violet is your eldest, and
she is.
she's something going on to six. You said six going on to 16, you said?
Yes,
And Lily
absolutely.
your second daughter, is about to turn 4. When's her birthday?
December 7th. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
13. Saggy.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
she's a Saggy. Yeah.
Love a good Saggy. So tell
Yeah.
me about Lily and your journey. When did that
Yeah,
start?
sure. So Lily was a happy, healthy, thriving 2.5-year-old, um, full of energy and personality, always making us laugh. And one day, out of the blue, she started vomiting. This was last September, and we took her to the pediatrician, and they initially thought it was acid reflux. But over the three week period, she progressively got worse and really started to decline. When we did every test imaginable, every blood test imaginable, we had ultrasounds and X-rays, um, but everything was coming back clear.
Mm.
And everyone was looking at her stomach and assuming it was a GI issue, a constipation or a parasite or a bacteria infection, but everything kept coming back clear. And we saw about 6 different doctors, and on the last weekend before everything changed, we went to emergency 3 times. And on the Sunday, the last day we went to emergency, we went and saw a GI specialist, and she was convinced it was a bacterial infection and that we needed to provide another stool sample to do more heavy testing. So we went home, and the next day was Monday, the 23rd of September, the day after my birthday.
Wow.
Um, yeah, she was not in a good way. She was really irritable. She could barely stand. She wasn't eating, and all the fluids I was giving her, she was vomiting. And at 5 o'clock, she was begging me to go to sleep. She's like, I just want to go to bed, Mum. I just want to go to bed. And I was worried that she'd be dehydrated because she was vomiting everything I was giving her. So I said to her, if you can finish this juice, I'll let you go to bed. And thank God I did that, because 10 minutes later, she had what I thought was a seizure. She locked up her arms and her legs, and her eyes were fixed. And I called the ambulance. The ambulance came. We went to emergency, but her vitals were completely stable. So the nurses and the doctors saw her do this action again, but they were saying it wasn't a seizure because her vitals were remaining stable as she was doing it. So they again were thinking it was something stomach related. So they called for another ultrasound. In waiting for that ultrasound, she stopped breathing. Scariest moment of my life. And thankfully, they were able to resuscitate her, and they put her in an induced coma, and a CT scan was performed at that point. And that's when they found a large tumor in the back of her brain, and that was blocking her cerebral spinal fluid and blood flow to the brain, which caused her to stop breathing. So from that point on, we were preparing for a huge brain surgery. And again, like the beauty of this country, we had fortunately had access to one of the most world renowned neurosurgeons who had happened to move to Dubai a month earlier. And he, together with another um, neurosurgeon who has become part of our family, um, spent 20 hours removing this tumor from Lily's brain. And they removed 99% of it. There was one tiny piece left that was on a nerve that they didn't want to damage. So that was kept. Um, but the celebration of that didn't last very long because we were then given another devastating blow, and that was that she had suffered a significant brain injury because of the lack of blood flow and oxygen to the brain when she stopped breathing. And
Mm.
yeah, we were told um, she wouldn't walk, talk, breathe on her own again, smile, and that what we could see at that moment, which was a very vacant baby that couldn't move arms or legs. Her eyes were sunset and locked in position. They said this is as good as she's going to get. Um, it still blows my mind that I heard those words. But I knew in that moment that I'm not going to accept that. My husband and I both said no. Lily is a fighter. She was always so resilient, even as a baby. Even like a regular cold, she would have a fever. She would never cry. I'd have to set my alarm to check on her in the middle of the night because I knew she wouldn't cry to wake me up. I knew she was a fighter. I knew that we had to give her every chance to heal and to provide everything we could to help her get our Lily back. So from that point on, I said, please don't let that man in her room ever again. Because, I only wanted people who believed in her healing and in her recovery around her.
Mm.
Yeah.
Despite your story being so heartbreaking to hear, I'm actually smiling because a year later, hearing those words, she can't smile, she won't be able to talk. You're now posting videos of her smiling. You're now
Yeah.
posting videos of her progression to communication, her progression to movement. And it's only been just over 12 months since this
Yeah.
incident occurred, or the surgery as well. And that's such a short time in therapy, but it just shows the power of early intervention. Anything is
Hmm.
possible, and keeping your circle around you incredibly hopeful and driven to the goals as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it hasn't even really been a year because she was in ICU for more than 2 months, and then we are in hospital
Oh,
for a
so
few months
Christmas.
after that. Yeah, and then Christmas we were in India, Chennai, where she had proton therapy, which is a targeted form of radiation. And she did that. We were there for 72 days, and only when we got back she really started therapy. So yeah, the progress we've seen in such a short time just gives me hope on what we're going to see in the future.
Mm. Sabrina, on Wine with Wida, I always share what it's like to hear receiving the news of your child's diagnosis. Can you please share to the listeners that moment when they would say, this is her challenge, this is what we found? And what came to my mind, they were looking for stuff in her gut, looking for stuff from something, how she digests foods. And so ironically, last night I was watching the movie Miracles from Heaven. Have you watched that movie?
Oh, I haven't.
With,
I
oh, what's
haven't.
that girl from Suddenly 30? What's her name? She was married to
Oh,
Ben Affleck. What's her
yeah,
name?
yeah. What is her name? Oh,
You know who I'm talking about. I forgot her
yes,
name.
I
She's a
do.
darling.
Jennifer Garner.
That
There you
one. Yeah.
go.
So she's the
Yeah.
mum in that movie, and she has three daughters. Like, how amazing is this happening now?
Yes.
She has three daughters,
I think
and
she has
her
a
daughters.
violet, by the way.
Does she? Yes, she does. She
Yeah,
does.
she
She does.
does. Yeah.
But in this movie, she has three daughters, and her second daughter, ironically, she started vomiting one night in the movie and was getting quite unwell. Then the doctors were saying what they were telling you. She's like lactose intolerant. There's something going on with her
Mm,
diet. And this
mhm,
mother said, I won't take this for an answer because her condition was progressively getting worse, to the
mm,
point that she found this one remarkable doctor who then found that there's something wrong with her metabolism or her gut or so forth. I can't know the exact diagnosis, but she went through so much negativity and resistance, but she wouldn't let go. And you have to watch it. It's so powerful. But
Okay, I
I feel
will.
like it really resembles your story. So back to my question. What
Yeah,
was it
the
like
diagnosis.
receiving that diagnosis?
It's really something that splits your life into, like, everything is before or after this happened in my life.
Mm,
And it it's such an, like, you hear the words but they don't sink in, and it feels very much like an out of body experience, and you have a real sense of overwhelming disbelief and helplessness. And then for me, I had a huge, overwhelming sense of guilt because I'm her mum. How did I not know? What could I have done? Like, why didn't I question more? Why didn't I push the doctors to look beyond the stomach? Why, you replay every conversation and every decision, and it's logic leaves the building, and even though logically it was out of control, the guilt stays. and
yeah.
and and I still feel it to the day. If I had made one different decision, maybe, yes, she had the tumor, but maybe we wouldn't be fighting the brain injury.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult, and in that first few weeks I really felt helpless and hopeless, and I couldn't barely even be in the same room as Lily. I couldn't speak to doctors. It shatters you completely. And
Mm,
the turning point for me was one of my closest friends came to me and said, Lily is in the boxing ring. She is fighting the biggest fight in her life, and she needs you in her corner. And I was like, whoa, you know, I will thank her forever for doing that, because that really, I got off the hospital floor wherever I was on some floor in some bathroom in the hospital, and went into survival mode because, yeah, pity party is over. There's no time for that. There's no time for why me, why her. You have to get up and fight for her, and fight with her. And I'm actually one of the lucky ones because she died for a few seconds. There are parents who have gone through these journeys who I've connected with, who have lost their sons and daughters to brain
mm,
cancer, and I've got the opportunity to fight with her and for her. Um, so yeah, at that point, and I've never looked back. I mean, yes, it is a muscle you have to keep working at, to have the mindset of being positive and being hopeful, because that deep dark hole is right there inviting me to walk in, because it's so easy to think, why Lily, and think about what she could be doing this time next year, this time, if she wasn't didn't have the injury. But I wake up every day, and I'm grateful that she's here. I'm grateful that she's smiling. I'm grateful that I can hold her, because I know there are so many parents who don't have that luxury. So yeah, a lot, like, a diagnosis like that, just, it still sometimes doesn't feel real. Like, I wake up and go, is this my life? Is this real? Yeah.
mm. Thank you for sharing that. That would have been to go back to that moment and to relive it again would have been some sort bittersweet. Like yes, she's succeeded. Yes, she's coming along, but to relive that and to go through those wounds again would have been really hurtful for you. So thank you for sharing that. But I
Yeah.
want to say, what a beautiful metaphor that your friend told you.
Yeah.
Lily's a
Yeah.
fighter in the boxing
Yeah.
ring, and you're that one in the corner holding the bottle of water and the
Yeah.
towel to wipe her hair.
Yeah.
And I think that's a gorgeous imagery of what advocacy is about. It's not about you, it's about your little child that cannot do what we want them to do yet. And you have to do that for them. You have to be their
Exactly.
voice, you have to be their advocate. It's all on you. And there's this amazing strength that parents hold that they never knew that they had until they had to use this strength. And I think
Yeah.
your story truly resembles that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it's something I consciously have to remind myself sometimes, um, because
Do you
every
keep like a
day
gratitude journal or something, or you just
I
have to
do,
tell yourself?
I
Yeah.
do. No, I have a
Yeah.
gratitude. I've never been one to have a
Yeah.
gratitude journey. Who has time for that? Like that's the kind of person I am, was,
Mm.
but this has changed me in so many ways. And yeah, I wake up and write what I'm grateful for, and I go to sleep and write what I'm grateful for that happened that day. And yeah, it really does help, because without that hope, what are you fighting for? If you don't
Yeah.
believe in her recovery, then you wouldn't work so hard. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. Now, tell us about the treatment that you're accessing in Dubai. What does that look like? Because I know when we've spoken before off air, it looks very different to what I've heard or seen in Australia. And I'm so fascinated on the medical system and advances in
yeah.
technology and treatment in Dubai. So tell us about what you've received. I think in India, you said as well, what Lily's
Yes.
received. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had proton therapy, which is a targeted form of radiation. Like traditional radiation would radiate your entire brain. And obviously, in Lily's case, she already had a severe brain injury. So it's not something you would want to expose her brain to. So proton therapy, it's relatively a new type of radiation. It's not available anywhere. Actually, Australia has been trying to set up a proton center for years. And when
Mm.
Lily was diagnosed, they were building the building, and it's been delayed and delayed and delayed. So
Wow.
yeah, the we went to Chennai Apollo Proton Cancer Center, and the care team and their doctors were just amazing. I mean, I don't want to say it was an amazing experience, because obviously we're going through radiation for my then 2.5, 3 year old, but you know, it was definitely an example of how a care team looks at your child as a person. And, we felt their love for them. I'm still in contact with their head of radiology. He messaged me this week, always checking in on Lily. And we're very grateful for having to go on there. When we first were told, oh, Chennai is the closest, we're like, Chennai, what? you know, but it was the best decision we made, and we're really grateful to the team there. But in terms of her therapy and her recovery, so when we got back from Chennai, we had started PT and OT even from when she was in ICU. She has a lot of spasticity and tone in her body, so we did start from the beginning. But when we got back from India is when we really we were doing it 4 times a week,
Mm.
but we were just seeing really limited results, and she seemed to be in pain a lot of the time whenever we'd go there, and very exhausted after every session. Um, through through our Instagram page for Lily, I was connecting with other parents and families going through similar journeys. And one day, while searching through social media in a deep, deep hole,
That
I
rabbit
came
hole we
across,
dig ourselves in.
yes,
Mm.
that rabbit hole. I came across Dr. Kyle and Neurosolution, and I saw kids facing similar issues to Lily, and seeing real progress from the therapies that they were doing, and these therapies I'd never seen before. And then I dug a little deeper, and I found that there's a Neurosolution center 10 minutes from where we live. So
Crazy.
crazy. I mean, we had the neurosurgeon who just moved to Dubai a month earlier perform the surgery, and then now Neurosolution is 10 minutes away. So thanks to everyone who ever has a prayer or wish for Lily, because it's working. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. It was just really seemed meant to be, and I knew we'd have to give it a try. And the moment I stepped foot in the clinic, I just knew we were in the right place. They had genuine belief in Lily's recovery. You know, they they're like, yes, we can help. Yes, we can help. Like, she's going to get better. And it was the first time I spoke to any therapist or doctor who said that to me, because usually they're very apprehensive and giving you any hope and any like future forward statement. No, they wouldn't do
Mm.
that. So it was so different, and Dr. Carl's confidence how he can help you, and then he shows you the different case studies and explains everything. And for someone like Lily, who had such a significant brain injury, sending her to traditional PT and OT didn't make sense, because where your brain controls your entire body, and her brain
Mm.
isn't connected to her body anymore. It's the way that he explains it to me is, you've got a newborn baby, like she's gone back to that newborn phase from a body perspective, and you wouldn't get a newborn to start walking, right?
No.
Like there's development milestones that you have to hit to get there. And so for Lily, it was all about starting with the brain, and healing the inflammation in her brain, and rewire helping. It's really all about encouraging neuroplasticity and helping rewire her brain so that she can move her body. And it just, when he explained it to me, it just makes so much sense. Start with the brain before forcing the body to move. And in the 2 week, we had a 2 week intensive at first, and in those 2 weeks, we saw more progress than we did 8 months of PT and
Yeah.
OT. She couldn't move her head from side to side. At the 2 weeks, she was moving her head from side to side. She was tracking. She was kicking her legs more. She was sleeping through the night. If I didn't see it with my own two eyes, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. And even before I went there, I found another Aussie mum in Melbourne, um, who had gone to the States for a similar therapy. And she said the same to me. You won't, no matter what I tell you, you won't believe it until you see it. And it was
Mm.
true. Like, I was, even when I was seeing it, I was like, is this happening? Is this just a coincidence? So we've been really blessed in having access to the clinic, and it being so close. I meet families from all over the world who fly directly to NeuroSolution from a variety of countries. And I feel really lucky that we're 10 minutes away, and we have the luxury to go there a few times a week, and we're constantly seeing improvements.
Yeah.
Now her head control is getting so much better. uh, it's and that's Dr. Carl said from the beginning, we had to start with her facial tone, which
Mm.
I was like, what? What? Why
Mm.
would you? He's like, no, we need to build her facial tone, and the rest will follow. And it didn't make
Yeah.
any sense. But
Support, breathing. Yeah.
yeah, and if you look at photos of Lily from July to October, her face has completely changed. And she looks more like herself now.
Yeah.
And her tone is coming, her smile is more symmetrical, her eyes are moving better. And yeah, now her head control is starting to get there. So yeah, we've only been there for 3 months, and we've seen so much. So we have so much hope for what's to come. And having the team, their support, we just know we're gonna see the results we're looking for.
Yeah. I'm loving that you're sharing this on Wine with Weta, because it's like a reflective moment for you too, to look
Yeah,
at
for sure.
look look at where we've come from. And I have this analogy that I use with my clients, the nothing something everything phrases. In the beginning, in your head, you think your child can't do nothing. There's nothing there. But over time, something appears. And then over time, when we look back, that something now is actually everything. And we're working with kids who have additional needs. It's my duty as a healthcare professional to support parents to really believe on that hope that their child, yes, they were in that nothing category, but there is something that moves into the everything that they're capable of being and doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And
Mm.
I think as parents, we're our kids' advocates, and we have to try and look for those answers, and look beyond what's familiar. And yeah, I'm grateful for social media, because
Yeah,
I wouldn't have found Dr. Carr without it. Yeah.
I know what you're going to write in your gratitude journal tonight.
Yeah.
There's lots
Oh,
of
he's in
points.
there. He's in there.
Now, could you describe Lily's spirit and personality, and what's her resilience like in this journey?
Oh, she's pure magic, honestly. She can't communicate verbally yet, but she says so much with her eyes and her smile. And cognitively, she's actually really there. Like when I read her a book, she smiles at the right moments. You know, you say goodbye, she'll cry. She
Mm.
knows, she can hear, and she understands a lot more than anyone thinks she can. Um, so she really connects with people. Any of the therapists that work with her just fall in love with her because and
She's delicious.
it,
She's so
she
cute.
is, she's so, I mean, I know she's my daughter, but she's so cute. But it's funny because before her injury, she was quite a shy kid. She didn't like she would never, if there was any stranger in the room, she'd be holding onto my leg. She wasn't an my eldest daughter is a socialite, and she will be out and
Mm.
about at every single party, but Lily was very much holding onto my leg at all times. So she still has that element of like, who are you? I'm not going to, but if you work on her, she'll give you the biggest smile. And today she waved at one of
Oh,
the parents that we met at the clinic. Yeah, I was like, "Are you going to wave and smile?" And there she was. She had her hand, like usually it's clenched, and she opened her hand and moved it a
wow.
little and gave her a big smile. So yeah, her sparkle is definitely there, and
I love
it's
that.
bright.
I
Yeah.
love that. What inspired you to share your story on Instagram? And the reason why I ask, a lot of parents fear vulnerability because some parents feel like it's a reflection on, in inverted commas, their failure as a parent.
Mm.
And I think when they share their challenges, they don't want people to perceive that the parent has done something wrong. And I think you mentioned this earlier, that you had this guilt. What if I did something differently? What if I went down a different path? Maybe Lily wouldn't have had the injury. What inspired you to share her story, and was it from the place of, "This might help somebody else," or, "This is part of my healing as well"?
Honestly, it began because I have such a beautiful community of family and friends back home who I still am in touch with all the time. And it was a way to keep them updated on Lily's journey, because there's only so much time in the day to send 100 people messages, right? So it really
Mm.
did start in that way to keep everyone updated. And then slowly I started connecting with other family members and who said, that Lily's journey was helping them and helping their struggles, and they were learning from that. And yeah, then it became this like a way for me to heal, in a sense of I'm turning something really painful into something purposeful, right? And maybe this is, maybe down the track someone else's daughter might say face the similar symptoms as Lily, and they will request that CT scan, and this is going to be
Mm.
one less child who has to go through what Lily did. So I mean, yeah, that is my hope now, that it can help other families. And I love connecting with other parents and sharing Lily's story, and hopefully, and I've also gotten help from others by being on there. As I said,
Mm.
I only found Dr. Carl because of the Instagram page. Obviously my algorithm, has
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
adapted. And if I didn't start that page, I wouldn't have found Neurosolution, and I wouldn't be seeing, I'm sure, the progress and the recovery that Lily is going through now.
Yeah. Probably would have been stuck down the traditional path of allied health services and questioning, "Is this
Yeah,
what
and
our Lily needs?" Yeah.
I don't want to sit here, and I really loved the therapist that we worked with, and I have so much respect for them. It's just for Lily and
Oh,
her,
yeah, yeah, yeah. We're not
because she
here,
had.
no, 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 no.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
I
not
just
here
want
to
to
talk
make
about
that point
different,
because
no, 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 no. I
yeah,
completely understand, and even in
yeah,
my clinic space, I tell my clients these traditional forms of or pathways of speech therapy are not needed now. You need to do something
yeah,
else which is suited for your child's needs
yeah,
now. And I wanna yeah, don't wanna disrespect traditional forms of physio or OT, or I can't
yeah,
remember any other ones, but it's about what are the child's needs now in order for them to then later receive those traditional forms of therapy which would benefit them. And I always tell parents, Data tells you everything. Look at your child's progress. Really reflect on your own expectations and have those healthy discussions with the therapist. And it is our duty as therapists to then say, yeah, okay, it's not going the way I believe it will go. Let's reconsider and assess another avenue. Here's a referral source to somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, as I said before, we're our child's biggest advocates for parents, and
Mm,
it is up to us to ask the questions, to do our research, to connect, and look for things beyond what's around us. Because, um, I do have a lot of respect for the medical community. They saved Lily's life, and
mm,
I think when it comes to sort of life and death, we need that. But when it comes, in my experience, when it comes to a neurodivergent child, their their care is about surviving. So, like, what's the
mm,
weight? Are they having seizures? It's not about thriving. It's not about how
mm,
how how do I get my child to thrive. I always get a lot of, okay, let's weigh her. Is she having seizures? On the right diet, which are all very, very important things. But I'm like, okay, what's next? Like, I need her to thrive. I want to give her every possible tool to get there. And I think
mm.
that's when you have to look beyond to do that, because unfortunately the system is very slow to evolve, and
Yeah.
there is so many advancements, but there's still the same textbooks that
Mm.
you
I
study.
love how
So
you said that. So sorry to interrupt you, Sabrina. I love how you said
yeah,
we're not here for surviving, we're here for thriving. And I did a
yeah,
little post on that actually last week where I met a dentist, and it's not about having the clean teeth, it's about the next step that we need for dental and airway health. Is the child's palate developing well? Are they breathing well? Are they sleeping well? So they are thriving in their development. And I think that's such a beautiful two-word phrase to let every parent recognize. Are you currently just working on survival, or are we working on your child's ability to thrive as well? And I think that is so important because that instills the hope and the long term goals that we want to achieve with our kids.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think once you get to that point and you're focused on thriving, you just have so much motivation, right?
Mm,
And especially if you find a network that thinks the same way as you, and has that hope, you're more motivated to get up every day and do the work, because everything that we're doing in Neuro Solution, it's not a quick fix. Yes, we saw some quick gains in her first intensive, but it's a long road ahead. She
yeah,
still has a tracheostomy, she still has a peg tube, she can't hold her head up completely yet. We have to do work every single day to get there.
to get there.
And yeah, you just have to, it's so important to surround yourself with people that believe in the power of the brain, and have the same mindset as you.
Yeah, 100%, 110%. I really believe that. Now, this is a message for all the mums. How has this journey shaped you as a mother, Sabrina? So you've been a mum for over 6 years now. You had the beautiful images of baby chinos with the young Violet, that mum life, and then your world rocked. How's it shaped you now as a mum?
It hasn't changed me as a mom. It has changed me in every possible way, as a friend, as a colleague, as a wife. I used to pride myself of being such a great friend. I would always remember everyone's birthdays. I would, think of special ways to honor people, and always the one organizing girls' nights. But this
Mm,
year, I think I've forgotten two of my best friends' birthdays. I've missed some big moments. And it's because my energy is completely devoted on Lily's recovery. And then on top
mm,
of that, I have Violet, who also needs my love and attention. And on top of that, I have a full-time job because I have to pay for
mm,
Lily's therapies, so that there isn't a lot of space left for me, or fun, or unfortunately, devoting to my friends and other things. So thankfully, I have amazing friends who really understand it, but it is really hard because, and I think I'm sure it's very familiar to for anyone who has a special needs child. Like there's just so much more energy that needs to go into that child
Yeah.
that other things sort of, yeah, falter. But hopefully, my friends are still there at the end of the day. But and I know my closest friends, they understand and they support me, but it is something that I struggle with for sure.
Yeah.
But I think, as I said earlier, I've connected with parents who have lost children, and so the one thing how this has changed me is just learning to be grateful and to have gratitude, because I
Mm.
am one of the lucky ones, and it's really taught me to be present and not worry about what's next, but live to what is. I used to do bedtime stories with the girls and rush through it because I had emails to get to in work, and what I wouldn't give to go back to that day when life was a bit more simple. And we still do the bedtime stories, but it's different. But I treasure
Mm.
every single moment now, and I don't miss it. Like I won't miss one bedtime story with Lily and Violet now. And I
Mm.
and I, I make the most of everything because you just don't know when your life's going to change. I think,
Yeah.
yeah. So more than as a mum, but just as a person, it really does change. Yeah,
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to go back to what you said. I was that friend that would always make the special attempts to wish everyone happy birthday. But now it's about, you know what you're capable of doing, but do you have the capacity to do it? And for
yeah,
any special needs parent, you've all got the capability of attending all the events that you want to attend, or going to all your child's therapy appointments and school events. But do you have the capacity? And it's so important that you give yourself grace and compassion to know that if you say no, you're actually saying yes to your own well-being and yes
yeah.
to your own
That's
health. And I think as women, we forget that. We forget that by
yeah,
saying no, you're actually saying yes, and it's not a selfish act at all. It's actually quite
yeah.
selfless.
Thank you for saying that because that really does make me feel better. Because yeah,
Yeah.
I have this guilt. I have to say no to a lot of things because
Mm,
in my mind, I'm like every hour that I have spare needs to be devoted to Lily. And if even if I have a night out when she's asleep, the next day I'm going to be tired, so I'm not going to have the right
the
mindset to
energy.
do the
Mm,
therapy with her. So yeah, it's But you're right. I think any special needs mum would feel the same. And yeah, we
yeah,
do have to be kinder to ourselves. It's just a balancing act, and you can't
yeah,
do it all.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I agree. Sabrina, this has been such a wonderful story of inspiration, endless gratitude, finding your child's sparkle, and never letting go of what can be. And most importantly, if a child can't do, it's because they can't do it yet. And we've really discussed that today. For anyone listening, wanting to find that little bit of hope, without a doubt, Sabrina's story today would have sparkled something in you just to keep on going and being your child's in the boxing ring with your child as well. And I love that analogy. Sabrina, you wrote a book recently with your daughter, and I'm just going to put it on the screen, Holding On to Our
Thank you.
Sparkle. You spoke about not missing a bedtime moment with your children and finding the time to spend with Violet, your eldest daughter. Do you feel this was your way to connect with Violet so she can be a part of the very complicated journey with Lily? Because she's such a young girl and it's quite confusing
Mm,
for her to understand that mummy needs to be with Lily. And they're quite
yeah.
egotistic, those kids at that age. It's all about me, me, me.
Yeah.
And it's hard for her. So
And
did you
she's my
feel by writing?
first. So
Yeah, yeah. So do you feel by writing this book with her and putting her name on the front cover was your way of giving back to Violet too?
yeah, absolutely. But also it was a really good opportunity to kind of get her to talk about her feelings because
Mm.
Unfortunately, and I'm sure it's same with a lot of families who go through medical challenges, the healthier sibling is kind of overlooked. And, she's okay, so we're going to concentrate on our other child who needs our attention. But yeah, you're right. She's 6 years old, and she was my first, and Lily was my easy baby, and she was my difficult baby. And she needs my love and attention. And it actually it it happened because her school. I had a meeting with her teacher, and they said, we think Violet's struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
She's being really needy and like wanting extra hugs and from her teachers and things, and maybe just address it at home and see. And I, obviously felt
Felt
so
bad. Yeah.
terrible.
Mm.
So did have some time off over summer, and I thought, what can we do? And I looked for books for her to read, for us to read together. And I couldn't find any. So I thought, okay, well, maybe we could write one because I
Just
have all the
another thing
time in
to
the
add to
world.
your list. I've got the capacity,
Yeah.
but do I have the capability?
So it was really beautiful because it allowed us to spend some really quality time together, sit down, and I'd ask her questions. What do you remember about when Lily first got sick, and how did you feel in that moment, and what at every point. And I was just jotting down what she was saying, and I was like, "Do you think we should turn this into a book?" And she's like, "Yes, I'll draw the pictures." And so she
Did you
actually
draw them?
drew. Well, wait,
Oh,
she's not that great, but no, she's
that's
amazing.
remarkable.
She is an amazing artist, but she drew the stars and she drew herself and Lily, and then I sent those pictures to the illustrator and asked
Are
to
these
base
ones?
the. Yeah, she drew like the shape, and
Oh,
so it was based. That's why her name is with the illustrator, because it was based on her. But yeah,
yeah.
it really helped, and yeah, like you said, it gave her kind of a sense of pride and a place in the journey. And she is amazing with Lily. She's always helping, and she really she loves her sister. I mean, she loved her before, but the love between them now is, it just warms my heart. She runs to her as soon as she gets home from school, and she's
Mm.
ready to help all the time. She wants to go get into her room every morning to wake her up, which I try and stop. But but yeah,
Mhm.
it was a really special moment. And then as I was telling my friends about it, they said, this could really help other families who have siblings, and it's a nice way to also help the community. So I thought, okay, somehow, somewhere, I found we could publish a book, and here we are.
I love it. And I did a post recently about how amazing it is as a speech therapist because I love reading with kids, but such a beautiful way to see what it's like for siblings who have a sibling with additional needs because their mind is very ego driven and it's all about them at the moment. But we always forget what it's like for the other kids because our energy is consumed with the child who needs the extra support. And when I work with young kids, I always encourage parents to read books because it's quite relatable for them to understand it from their world. So even though they might find it hard to express their emotions, something simple like, I feel like Violet right now is enough for anyone to understand the child is seeking that
Oh,
connection. And our little kids have so much to say, but sometimes they just really struggle with because they're just kids. So books are such a lovely
yeah.
way to resonate with them. For anyone listening, wanting to know more about Sabrina's story and Lily's story, and maybe even wanting to buy the book, I'll put the Amazon link or the book link to the book in the show notes, and I'll put Sabrina's Instagram link if you want to connect with her. But love this book. I highly recommend it. Now, Sabrina, we're just about to finish up, and you know what question I'm going to ask. Yeah, you know the question. For for you to be a better version of yourself tomorrow, what word will you apply to yourself today?
Gratitude. It's got to be about
Yeah, I knew that
gratitude,
would be
right?
it. Yep,
Yeah, yeah. Gratitude. Grateful
love it.
every day. Yeah.
Yep. I'm actually going to see Oprah in December. My best friend
Oh,
for my 40th birthday bought me front row tickets to see Oprah, and
wow.
In one of my darkest moments over 30 years ago, it was really hard to find that hope being such a young person. And Oprah was the person who taught me that your mind is like a garden. Any negative thought builds the weeds, but every positive thought plants that flower. And the more
Yeah.
flowers you plant, the beautiful your mind will get. And I will never forget that phrase because Oprah taught me the essence of purpose, gratitude, and alignment. And she continues to show me on how to be gratitude every day. And I wholeheartedly believe gratitude has brought me to this platform of Wine with Weta and the success of it, because I've worked with the purpose of sharing everyone's story. And you coming on today, Sabrina, without a doubt, will help hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. So thank you. I feel so honored
Oh,
for you to be here today.
thank you. Thank you. No, it was a real pleasure. It was another piece of healing, I think, having to share it again. And I really enjoyed it. And hopefully it does. Yeah, hopefully it helps even one family. I'd be grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to go to your Instagram account and read it out loud. So for anyone wanting to contact Sabrina, it is Brave Like Lily. That's her Instagram handle. If you'd love to see her story, I'll put it in the show notes. But without a doubt, Sabrina will be happy to answer some questions if when she gets a chance,
Absolutely.
or if you want to see her story. Brave Like Lily. Thank you again, Sabrina, for being my first guest
Thank
of
you, Rita.
2026.
Happy
And
New
thank
Year.
yeah, exactly. Happy New Year. Thank you again. And I'll look forward to bringing another episode of Wine with Weta really soon. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Wine with Weta. I hope you found some new inspiration, learnt something new, or gained a fresh perspective. If you enjoy this episode, I'd be so grateful if you please leave a 5-star review, as it really helps the show get in the ears of new listeners, plus it takes 5 seconds. If you're keen for more strategies and insights, then head over to Instagram and follow RS Speech Pathology.